Hi there, and welcome to the Coping with Anger class presented to you by the Edmonton Oliver Primary Care Network. My name is Jenny Ann, and I'm a registered provisional psychologist, currently working towards becoming a registered psychologist. And as you can see, we are two today to present, and so here's my colleague, Anisha.
Hey everyone, I am Anisha. I am one of the mental health navigators here at Edmonton Oliver Primary Care Network.
Awesome. So make yourself comfortable as this class is about an hour long. Feel free to pause anytime you'd like to either stretch or even to just take a break.
Thank you all for being here. Let's get started. So to begin, I would like you to think about how you would define anger. According to Spielberger, anger is an emotional state that varies in intensity from mild irritation to intense rage. Here are some other definitions of anger. The Miller-Keene Encyclopedia defines anger as a feeling of tension and hostility, usually caused by anxiety aroused by perceived threat to oneself, possessions, rights, or values. Collins' Dictionary of Medicine defines anger as a strong emotion aroused by a sense of wrong, whether justified or not. Here's a quote from K.M. Nielsen about anger. Anger is often the way we distance ourselves from others and ourselves. It is not the feeling that is the problem. It's what we do with the feelings or what we fear the feelings will cause to happen.
So I'd like you to think about the following. When is anger healthy and unhealthy? How has anger affected your lives? Everyone gets angry, but everyone is also responsible for how they manage their anger. Anger is a completely normal human emotion. Anger can have positive effects. Nothing would change if we never got angry. But when it gets out of control and turns destructive, it can lead to problems at work, with your personal relationships, and with the overall quality of your life.
Some people try to pretend they aren't angry. Other people fear their anger is out of control. They don't believe that they can handle it. Sometimes we even doubt we're allowed to get angry and shame ourselves for expressing or even feeling anger. But ignoring anger or giving up control over it can lead to physical health problems. These may include headaches, sleep problems, digestive problems, high blood pressure, and heart problems. Anger can also lead to poor decision making. Anger can make it hard to think clearly. You may have trouble concentrating or may use poor judgment. This can lead to car crashes, injuries, and other problems. It can also lead to problems with relationships. If you can't control your anger, you may end up insulting, criticizing, or threatening those close to you. They may respond with anger or resentment. Getting angry may also keep you from telling your loved ones how you really feel. Anger can lead to low self-esteem. So if you have trouble managing anger, you may feel bad about yourself. You may feel as if you have little control over what happens. Anger could also lead to depression. Anger that's kept bottled up can affect your thoughts and feelings. You may begin to feel unhappy and lose interest in things you used to enjoy, such as hobbies, work, friends, or sex. It can lead to problems at work. So if you blow up on the job, coworkers, supervisors, and customers may develop a negative impression of you. Your career may suffer as a result. Anger can also lead to alcohol or other drug problems. So you may use alcohol or other drugs to try to dull the anger and other strong feelings, and to forget about the negative consequences of an angry outburst.
The following are some anger discussion questions, or questions to reflect on rather. Do you know anyone who is really good at managing their anger? What is a healthy way that you or others express your anger? Many of us pick up lifelong habits related to anger based off examples set by the adult in our lives as we were growing up. What did you learn about anger as a child? What kind of similarities do you notice on how you and your family members cope with anger? What are your family's strengths and weaknesses when it comes to anger? What is a healthy way that you or others express your anger?
Anger is sometimes described as a secondary emotion, meaning there's often a primary emotion that comes before it. So, for example, your child runs out into the street and you yell out in anger. What is underneath your anger? It could be fear, helplessness, or guilt. I invite you to think of your own situations where you have acted out in anger. What emotions might be underneath?
What does anger look like? Anger has a way of sneaking out as something else. Anger can have internal and external triggers. I invite you to take a look at the handout titled Checklist on Hidden Anger.
So, why do we get angry? According to Dr. Weisinger, we are predisposed to become angry when we appraise an event or a person as a threat to one of our basic needs, such as food or shelter, or more mature needs, such as identity, recognition, achievement, and social affiliation.
Anger has a physiological roots as written by Harry Mills. Like other emotions, anger is experienced in our bodies as well as in our minds. In fact, there is a complex series of physiological events that occur as we become angry. Emotions more or less begin inside a structure of our brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is that part of the brain that's responsible for identifying threats to our well-being and for sending out an alarm when threats are identified that results in us taking steps to protect ourselves. The amygdala is so efficient at warning us about threats that it gets us reacting before the cortex, so that part of the brain responsible for thought and judgment, and that's able to check on the reasonableness of our reaction. In other words, our brains are wired in such a way as to influence us to act before we can properly consider the consequences of our actions. This is not an excuse for behaving badly. People can and do control their aggressive impulses, and you can too with some practice. As you become angry, your body's muscles tense up. You may feel a burst of energy, which is behind the common angry desire to take immediate protective action. At the same time, your heart rate accelerates, your blood pressure rises, and your rate of breathing increases. Your attention narrows and becomes locked onto the target of your anger. Soon, you can pay attention to nothing else. In quick succession, additional brain neurotransmitters and hormones, among them adrenaline and noradrenaline, are released, which trigger a lasting state of arousal. You're now ready to fight. The prefrontal cortex of your brain, which is located just behind your forehead, can keep your emotions in proportion. If the amygdala handles emotion, then the prefrontal cortex handles judgment. The left prefrontal cortex serves in an executive role to keep things under control. Getting control over your anger means learning ways to help your prefrontal cortex get the upper hand over your amygdala so that you have control over how you react to anger feelings. Among the many ways to make this happen are relaxation techniques and cognitive techniques, which we will talk about further in this presentation. So if we look at the cycle of anger, what we're trying to do is discover what we are perceiving as threatening by identifying our negative thoughts, which in turn create that emotional response of anger, which in turn creates those physical symptoms and leads to the behavioral response. This takes practice, But the more we practice, the more we train our cortex to gain more control in situations that create the anger response.
So here's a list of some examples of anger triggers. I invite you to take a few seconds to identify the ones that you may relate to.
So, part of what makes us angry is how we appraise or interpret situations. Sometimes we misinterpret situations as threatening when in actuality they are not. Irrational thought patterns or patterns of thought that distort our view of reality can often keep us feeling angry. I'd like to talk about the emotional response. So, anger often is viewed as a single emotion. However, as you can see, anger occurs in many forms on a continuum from annoyed to enraged. The tools and skill mirror the emotional continuum that once learned allow you to use your anger to identify what is not working for you and then make healthy communication and behavior choices. So for instance, if we take furious as an example of the emotion, which is presented to you in orange at the right side of the emotional continuum, well, based on the tools and skills, we are able to identify choices and then be able to take on a more healthier and more appropriate choice.
Here are some body sensations that one may experience when angry. Grinding the teeth, muscles quivering, pulse speeding, heartbeat pounding, body tensing, heat flushing through the body, sweating, obscured or tunneled vision. Alongside the body sensations we talked about, I would like you to think about how your body responds. Here are some illustrations that exemplify how one may behave when feeling angry.
We'd like to focus now our attention on our anger style. So when your anger is triggered, you're going to react in some way. The way you react is called your anger style. There are some common styles that include dumping, burying, and acting out. We'll talk to you about acting out. It's easiest to recognize because when you strike out at the person that you're verbally mad at, you're doing it physically or verbally, and then you're out of control. The consequences of that is you may get in trouble and the problem may not even get solved.
Another anger style is dumping. So this is when you shift your feelings to someone or something that you feel it's safe to be mad at. This is displaced anger. For example, a woman is mad at her boss and comes home and yells at her husband. The consequence of this is that you hurt innocent people and the problem is not solved.
Finally, the last style is burying or ignoring. When you hold your anger inside yourself because you think it isn't nice or helpful to have those feelings, you're denying that you're angry. Denying that you're angry isn't dealing with it. It can come out in other ways, headaches, stomach aches, anxiety, and depression. And one day you might just explode. Some consequences of that is that you may hurt yourself, you may hurt others when you explode, and the problem is not solved.
We're now going to move on to talking about socialization messages about anger. Here are some examples of socialization messages. Be sensitive to other people's feelings. Think of others first. Give to others, even if you're hurting. Don't be selfish. Be understanding and overlook trivial irritations. Help other people. Don't be demanding. What impact do these messages have on how you handle your anger? I encourage you to take the next few seconds to think of some healthier messages. Here are some examples that we came up with. Be sensitive to my own feelings. It's okay to tell others how I'm feeling. It's okay to set boundaries if I'm hurting. It's okay to help people, but I need to make sure my needs are taken care of as well.
Here are some strategies for managing your anger. How often do you check in with yourself throughout the day? You want to build some self-awareness. You want to learn your warning signs. So what are your cognitive or thinking signs that you are getting angry? What are your emotional signs that you are getting angry? You want to name the emotions. What are your emotional hot buttons? What body sensations do you feel when you're getting angry? What are your habits for dealing with anger? Here are some examples of some relaxation techniques that you can integrate. We have grounding exercises, progressive muscle relaxation exercise, deep breathing, mindfulness and visualization exercises, and simply just taking that time out.
Knowledge is power. Tracking can be a very useful tool to discover what your triggers are, how you react to situations, and what your initial signs of anger are. This can be helpful for learning what works for you and becomes a prevention tool for the future.
Replace maladaptive thoughts. So you want to use the 3 C's: catch, check, and change. So here are 2 examples to exemplify that. So instead of, Joe did that on purpose to make me look bad, so you're catching yourself having that thought, you're checking how accurate this is, and then you're changing it to, Joe is trying his best, but he still has room to grow. Another example is, instead of, Chris is always late and makes me wait, you might think instead, Chris has trouble being on time. From now on, I'll just meet her at.
We're now going to talk a bit about assertive communication and conflict resolution. So tell the person making you angry how you feel. Channel your angry energy into a physical activity. Try to solve the problem. Try to accept situations that you can't change. For additional information on assertive communication and conflict resolution, we do offer an effective communication workshop as well. And in order to showcase how to practice assertive communication and conflict resolution, we have provided you with the handout titled Fair Fighting Rules. These are the main points from the handout. Before you begin, ask yourself why you feel upset. Discuss one issue at a time. No degrading language. Express your feelings with words and take responsibility for them. Take turns talking. No stonewalling. No yelling. Take a time out if things get too heated. And attempt to come to a compromise or an understanding.
Letting go and forgiveness. Forgive others, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. You want to commit to letting go. Think about the pros and the cons. Realize that you have a choice. Empathize, focus on the present, and feel compassion.
So can anger be positive? Although anger is often viewed as a negative feeling, it can be used to provide positive change. Anger provides cues that there is a problem. Anger provides energy and motivates action. Anger encourages the expression of more detailed feelings.
We would like to finish off with this slide. Use the anger. Let anger be your friend. Listen to it. What is the problem you are encountering? Is it related to the preceding situations or moods? Why does this trigger have so much power over you? What steps can you take to figure out the problem? And so this concludes our video today. If you would like, please pause the video here and take a snapshot of the screen congratulating you on completing the Edmonton Oliver Primary Care Network's Coping with Anger class. Furthermore, please refer back to the website and the page that you found this video for more information about our mental health services and any additional resources or survey link that may be posted there as well. If you have any questions, please feel free to call the Edmonton Oliver Primary Care Network, which the phone number can be found on our website as well. Finally, Anisha and myself would like to thank you for taking the time today to viewing the Coping with Anger video.